For having me here to speak to you tonight. I am honored that Rosina invited me. So tonight I will speak on Trust Your Journey under the subtopic Expanding Your Network. How can you trust your journey? If this is a phrase we hear so common in our society, in our everyday slang jargon, you just have to trust the process, trust the journey. But what does that really mean to you as an individual? What does it mean to me? And because everyone is different, what it means to me, obviously what it means to you or anyone else. The first thing that comes to my mind when I hear trust your journey or, trusting the process, what process, what journey? So the starting point is to be intentional. And by being intentional about what you want out of life, being intentional about your passion, being intentional about your goals, your purpose, just being intentional. And once you're intentional about that, then you're able to put things in place where you can start to navigate your journey in life. Once you would have established what it is that you want to do, what it is you may not want to do, and it is a journey. So you may start, for instance, you may start Toastmasters and just discover that, this really isn't for me. Or you may join Rotaract or Rotary and eventually find out that maybe this isn't what I want. But you would have started. And starting your journey is what is important. You have to start somewhere. And once you start, be intentional about whatever it is that you do start. Once you have started, once you are intentional, my next advice is to enhance your knowledge. Nobody knows everything. There's always something for us to learn. So with that being said, there's so many ways that you can enhance your knowledge. If, for instance, you are on a journey to, just have to be biased, but with law, you know that you would have to, you don't just be a lawyer. Your journey to becoming a lawyer, an attorney, it's a process. You have to go to school. You have to pursue a degree in law. You then have to get called. And by doing so, you have to study and you're enhancing your knowledge about the field. You have to do your research, though, to understand that this is the process of becoming an attorney. And in the process of becoming an attorney and doing your research, it doesn't help doing the research without speaking to someone who would have traveled a similar journey like yourself, not the very same journey, but a very similar journey. And you do that by networking. And that is what I really want to hone in on tonight, expanding your network. But before we can really get to that, I always tell people, yes, we are humans. We all are humans. We all have different personalities. We all look differently. No two people are the same. But in being humans, we have to consider ourselves as a brand. Be intentional about your brand. And by doing that, what do you want people to say? When they hear your name, what do you want people to think? That determines how you carry yourself, where you go, what you do, how you speak, how you react or respond to situations and things. Your brand is you, and you are your brand. There's no separation. Again, yes, we're humans. We all make mistakes. But when you see yourself as a brand, personally, I believe that this is a personal form of accountability. McDonald's is known for their Big Macs. Burger King is known for their Whopper. They're both burgers, yes, hamburgers. But you won't go to Burger King expecting the taste of a Whopper and vice versa. Because they would have built their brand, there's a certain expectation, there's a certain quality, there's a certain presentation. So you have to be intentional about yourself and your brand. Again, we are all humans and we all fall short. But once you see yourself as a brand, you see yourself as a product, and you're able to market yourself, not just as an individual, but as a product. you know what you have to offer, you know your strengths, your weaknesses, and this is where networking then becomes important to you. Because once you build your brand and you know that, okay, this is my brand, this is what I want, you're able to connect with similar people who can help you along your journey, or you may be able to pour into people, but we'll speak about that later on. What is meant by networking? This is a term that I once shied away from, believe it or not. And it's very intimidating. When you hear networking, sometimes you think, oh, it's exploiting an opportunity, or it's taking advantage of people, or it's pushing yourself on people. And that's not necessarily always the case. Networking is simply, in my view, the process of meeting new people, building relationships, and enhancing ideas and information. It's that simple. Seriously. When you network, my advice would be to think outside of the box. Nobody wants to feel used. No one wants to feel like it's somebody always tugging at them for the wrong reasons, or, nobody, it's very uncomfortable. So once you would have considered yourself as a brand, you're intentional about what it is that you want, you start putting your brand, your product, you start selling yourself and your product. But before you do that, think outside of the box. Think, how can my product be a solution to a problem in society? Think about what resources you have or do not have. Think about what are your strengths and your weaknesses. And in doing so, this can help to mold how you network, how you approach people. So for instance, there are some people who it may be best for you to meet them for coffee, or it may be best for you to meet them at a Toastmasters meeting or a Rotary meeting or on the golf course. But once you know what your brand is and you're intentional about, what problem you can solve, what resources you may need, or what resources you do have that can help. And when I say resources, always think about your intention and your leverage. And what are your strengths and weaknesses? Why is networking important? You develop long-lasting relationships. It creates and open new doors of opportunity. It provides you with a platform to exchange ideas. Believe it or not, networking can enhance your qualifications, because you won't know if you need a particular certification or a degree unless someone who would have been down that road, that same journey, tell you, well, this is what you need. This is the route maybe you can take to help get you to your final destination and goal. So that is very important. It improves innovation and creativity. I may have an idea and I may go to President Rosina and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or how do you see that? And she might be like, no, Alicia, maybe you can do it this way or do it that way. So her ideas and my ideas, once merged, we can create a beautiful product. We can both become millionaires. It's just so many room for creativity with networking. You get to see the different ideas and you can literally take it and run, because Rosina may have access to resources in terms of financial assets and just connections. And I may have access to manpower, the people that we may need who can probably volunteer and help, bring the product to life. So once we both merge our ideas, it's just the creativity just blossoms and it increases your confidence, because, okay, you feel like, okay, somebody is buying into my product. I feel more confident about it. I feel good about it. I know what I could do, what I can't do, areas that I can improve on, areas that maybe I should do away without because of the logistics of it. So you become more confident about your product, which is your brand, AKA yourself. Networking, is it really a two-way street? I think it's important that, it's all good to consider what your brand is. It's good to see, okay, well, how can I fit in, or what can I get from this individual? But also, so how is it beneficial to you? That's one question we can consider. But we can also consider, how can we be a benefit to others? How can someone else benefit from the skills and knowledge that I know? how can I help to create to solve a problem? And this can be done, for instance, through mentorship, through joining other organizations in so many ways. So networking shouldn't be selfish. You should always have in your head, not just, okay, how can this benefit me? You're not just going to the event or approaching the individual on what I can take from them. How can you add to that individual life? And it may not just be that particular individual life, it can be an individual that individual is connected to. So you may not be a direct help to them, but you may be in a position to help someone who was close to them. And that's something that I want us all to remember when we go to events or when we want to network with individuals. It's a two-way street. Please do not ever forget that if you don't remember anything else I say tonight. So organizations that can be used to network, educational institutions are one. Believe it or not, this is the starting or breeding ground for networking. For instance, a school like SACers look out for each other. Wherever they go, oh, you went to SAC, I went to SAC. And believe it or not, some people get jobs just because they may have went to SAC. They may have never, ever seen them on the campus grounds, but just because they would have attended the same school, they look out for each other. So educational, and that SAC is just an example. I went to QC, so it's no bias, but I'm just saying how we were networking when we weren't even aware that we were networking. At a very young age, we were building a network subconsciously. And these connections, they last. Places of employment, your current place of employment, there are many people who have side jobs or who volunteer, who do different things that is not directly related to the industry that they both work, that you may all work in, but you can still network through your place of employment. Professional associations is another example of the way other people can network. So for instance, there's the Bahamas Bar Association, there's the Compliance Association, the Association of Compliance Officers for the Bahamas BACO. And like-minded compliance officers, they network. And when you go to events and these functions, you meet like-minded individuals. So it takes nothing to, if you experience a problem or issue in your day-to-day, hey, what do you think about this? Have you ever experienced this situation? And the individual may be able to help you. And if they cannot help you, they can point you in the direction for you to seek help or get the relevant help that you need. It happens all of the time. Online social media networks. LinkedIn is a prime example. Gone are the days where, well, I wouldn't say gone, but a lot of individuals go to LinkedIn to look for jobs. A lot of recruiters go to LinkedIn pages to recruit employees. That is a form of networking. You're putting yourself out there on social media platforms. And civic or nonprofit organizations like Toastmasters, Rotary, Rotaract, tonight is a prime example of how we're networking. Rosina is a fellow Rotarian. She's a Rotarian in my partner club, and she would have spoken to, I don't know, I stopped counting, but anytime we ask her to speak, she's there. And I'm returning the favor and vice versa. And we hope that this connection continues, but civic organizations, although you may not be paid for it monetary, the connections and the relationships you build, it's invaluable. Now, I'm not saying to completely join these organizations just for networking purposes. Join it because it can help with your brand development, but networking through these organizations have proven to be very beneficial. So I touched briefly on Rosina and myself interchanging being speakers. And that one of the reasons for that, I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's a Rotary and Toastmasters Alliance. So Rotary International and Toastmasters International have created a program that encourages both organizations to work together to enhance members' experience by providing them with more opportunities for personal growth and development. For for instance, when you go on the My Rotary website, there are Toastmasters courses with how to construct a speech, how to present, how to develop. These courses are free of charge for all Rotarians and Rotaractors. And I think we need to promote this program more because it is very beneficial. It's invaluable in my humble opinion. I am grateful that Rotary International would have, and Toastmasters International would have come together because people join each organization for different reasons. So the benefits may be mutually exclusive in many ways. And on Rotary International, for instance, this is the, I guess, how it can be beneficial. So Rotary and Toastmasters, they provide opportunities for service, speaking, learning, membership, connections. When you think about Rotary, a lot of people think, oh, rich white people, or they may think about service, community service. When you think about Toastmasters, you think about speaking, enhancement, professional development. But why can't we merge both? Why can't a Rotarian also be a Toastmaster? Why can't it happen? And so this alliance, it just brings knowledge about both organizations. And simply as being on this call tonight, I would have gotten a few messages about, I think I want to join Toastmasters. I think this is something that it can help and enhance myself. And so that is the purpose of this alliance, to encourage both Rotarians and Toastmasters to go to each other's meetings, see how you can help out, network, expand your personal development in so many ways. So the elephant that people sometimes do not want to address with how can networking potentially go wrong? You can either do it extremely right or you can do it extremely wrong. There is no correct way to network, or there's no one way or right way, but there are some ways that it could go wrong. And one way is if you're unprepared. For instance, if you go to a coffee date with a potential colleague or someone who you wish to mentor, you do not do your research. You do not find out about the individual, about their professional background, their personal background. And you're just, when you meet them, you just say things that completely they probably do not stand for. But if you would have done your research, you would have known just about them, or things that they may not like, or things that may offend them. And that can really work against you. So I think it's very important to remember that, again, be intentional. When you remember that when you're going to a networking event, it can be, or even if you want to network by social media, whichever medium you decide to use to network, be prepared, do your research, know your audience. A second way that networking can potentially go wrong is if you are too abrasive. You have to know, again, your environment, know where you are, who you're approaching, what you're dealing with, because you could come across as offensive, and you really do not want that if you're trying to network. That is the last thing that you want. A third way that networking can go wrong is being distracted. You are to a conference or you're to coffee, you're out, you are communicating with someone is communicating back with you, and you're in your phone. You are just, in the middle of conversations, you just hail everyone that passes, or you're just distracted. So it makes the conversation, okay, so why am I really here? You don't get the most out of the conversation. And your networking then will not be as effective as it could have been had you been focused, prepared. And even if you are focused and prepared, and you're not abrasive, you're polite, it's going well. The conversation is going well, but you are always in your phone. It comes across as very rude and disrespectful, depending on the individual you may be networking with. Again, another way that it can potentially go wrong is failing to follow up. If you would have went to an event, you're prepared, you're intentional, you've sold yourself, your product very, very well, you would have done your research, you had very good conversations, you thought it was very successful, and someone gives you their business card and as simple as, hey, shoot me an email or shoot me a message, and you don't. You have no idea of the opportunity that you would have missed out on just by being lazy or being nonchalant, like, oh, I'm not interested. But that individual, again, could have provided a life-changing opportunity. But because of your failure to follow up, then you just missed a window of opportunity. And you really have to ask your question, what's the point? You really went through all of that for nothing. Another thing is people are more willing to help people who they see are trying to help themselves. So if you are looking for a job or a scholarship or whatever it is, and you would have sold your product so well that you would have exchanged contacts and information, and you do not take it a step further and follow up, that can be very detrimental. So as I am closing, remember that you are your brand. Even sometimes when you don't feel like it or when you want to get out of character, use that as a measure to stay in your brand. Because it only takes one time of you getting out of character to blow an opportunity. You don't always know who was watching you. And you're not living your life to please people or by people's standard, but the reality is you're a brand and you want people to associate certain characters, attributes with your brand. How you present yourself matters. How you leverage and sell your brand matters. And that is the end of my brief presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I'm shy. I don't like going out much. And, I know it's good to network. I know my brand. What is a good way to actually initiate that process of networking? Like, I'm not the most outgoing person. So what will be a good tip or trick I can use to begin that initial conversation?
It depends on, again, your brand, what you want out of the networking process, out of the networking. So for instance, if you know that, okay, this individual have access to what I need, or this individual can help me. If you know that you need what this individual has, my humble opinion is to put the shyness aside. You can send an email, you can send a text. Sorry, no text, that's too much. But I would say put yourself in a position to be seen by them. Read the room, see how they respond to people they're familiar with. And a simple, good day, how are you? My name is Rosina, and you can just take it from there. Start with the little things. Don't just go out there and, oh, hey, I'm interested in this. I'm interested in that. Can you be my mentor? Or can you provide me with who can help me with it? No, people will be like, whoa. But I think it starts in the little things, in the little conversations. And if you know the individual who you may need money, let's just say money from, if you know that they go to Bahama every weekend, even if you drink home, you get dressed, and you make sure that you go to Bahama every weekend. If you may not address them the first time you see them, but you watch, you study, you do your research. The second time or the third time is when you can make your approach, when you're confident enough. If you have to practice what you want to say to them, then my humble advice is to do that if you are an introvert or shy. But I will say though, remember, your brand and your resources and what you need. So that should outweigh your shyness. Just think about strategies and learn the individual before making the approach. Or you may know someone who knows that individual who can do the introduction for you. That may be an easier route. So it's, I guess, ways like that, little soft skills that can be used to network.
Thank you.